When it comes to individual tenants like Crumble, like Mod, like Jimmy John's, like ATI, and all the others here in Sonoran Creek, they're looking at the overall growth of the city. They love seeing the new homes. They love seeing the apartments. They want that diversity of housing because they know that's what's going to produce the workforce housing that they need. Everyone is always asking me, and as part of my job, I'm talking to developers and retailers on a daily basis. And one of the questions these groups are always asking me is, where are my employees going to live? And they love seeing that we're building new homes, building new rooftops daily. All right, and that's what's bringing these businesses in. And I'll tell you, it's not going to stop with these. There's more and more talks we're having, more and more users coming. That's super exciting. If we look at more of Sonoran Creek, this is just some of the more and more ones that are going to be coming. Take a look at Sprouts. You see all of those inline shops with a restaurant on the end cap, and Marshall's is going to be on the other end cap. And then just as this building over here that has Mod Pizza, Crumble, Jimmy John's, and ATI has multiple tenants, this other building under construction is another multi-tenant building where you can expect several more shops to join the Maricopa family.
Wow, that's an incredibly expansive addition to our community. It's a very exciting time to be a resident of Maricopa. Hey, for more information on what's new and coming here in your community, check out what'snewmaricopa.com.
Two-year-old Mia Preston is the picture of unbridled joy.
Oh, that's pretty. It's so pretty. Swimming.
This picture shows Mia gliding with an ear-to-ear grin during her first swim lesson. It's an image Mia's mother can cherish forever, especially when she compares it against the one taken just 43 days earlier.
They say it takes 21 seconds for a child to go unconscious in the water.
For Mia, those seconds of misfortune happened while her family was on vacation. She was playing with her siblings when, in a moment of distraction, Mia slipped out a back door and fell into the pool.
She basically drowned. My husband had to pull her out of the pool and administered CPR.
Mia's father continued that CPR for over 20 minutes until paramedics arrived and got Mia's heart beating again on its own. But Mia's battle was just beginning. She would spend 9 days in the ICU, 9 days during which her parents not only didn't know whether she'd survive, but also if she'd ever be the same.
Who's that? Yeah. Who's that, Mia? Who's that? Who's that?
Mushy bear.
Mushy bear.
Mushy bear. Should we open it? Run, come back and hide.
Against the odds, Mia's condition improved, and miraculously, she's now on the road to a full recovery, a road that included a quick return to the water.
As soon as Mia got out of the hospital, the first thing I wanted to do was get her back into the water because she loved swimming, and we were really nervous that this accident would have prevented her from probably ever swimming again.
The more frequent outcome is a story that's become far too familiar for Arizona families, and one the city of Maricopa is determined to rewrite with a program called Maricopa Swims Safe in the Water.
The Maricopa Swim Safe in the Water program is designed for kids, and essentially the purpose of that is to start teaching kids at an early age how to
We are going to begin with an invocation and pledge of allegiance, which will be given. The invocation will be given by Jim Irving, and the pledge of allegiance by Bill Richardson. All rise, please.
Bow our heads. Dear Father, thank you for a day, a wonderful day, and let us rejoice in the day you've given us. Continue to be with us and bless us, and as we go about our business, let us be guided by your principles of love. We ask all this in your wonderful name. Amen.
Amen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hughes?
Here.
Here. Commissioner LaFalle? Commissioner Yoakum?
Here.
Commissioner Irving?
Here.
Commissioner Robertson?
Here.
Commissioner Frank?
Here.
Commissioner Yoakum? We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the minutes. We, in our packages, we received the minutes for the last two meetings. I'd like to get a motion to approve.
We do the call of the public?
Pardon?
Call of the public was the third. I think there's a speaker. Okay, no problem. I'll just go. I move approval of the minutes as submitted.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. If there's no further discussion, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll do the call to the public. If you wish to speak, please complete a speaker card and submit to the chairman prior to the start of the meeting. The procedures to follow if you address the commission are: the commission requests that you express your ideas in 5 minutes or less and refrain from any personal attacks or derogatory statements about any city employee, a fellow citizen, or anyone else, whether in the audience or not. The chairman will limit discussion whenever he deems such an action appropriate to the proper conduct of the meeting. And I just want to add that I am presiding over the meeting tonight because we do not have a chair or a vice chair. Meanwhile, I do have two speaker cards. And I would appreciate whoever the speakers are on these cards, that they wait until we bring up that particular agenda item for them to make their comments to the public, okay? That having been said, the first item on the agenda is 4.1. We already did the minutes. 5.1 PZ 23-02, election of officers. Discussion and possible action is to elect a chair and vice chair for the Planning and Zoning Commission for 2023. This is discussion and action.
Commissioner Yoakum, I would like to nominate Ted Yoakum as chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
I will accept the nomination. I think we'll take a vote.
That would be good.
I don't want to be considered a Caesar or whatever up here. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now looking for a vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate for Vice Chair Bill Robertson.
Bill Robertson, his name has been put in nomination. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, 5.2, SUB 22-19. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall discuss. Before I get into that, I want to make a comment here about my nomination. I really appreciate the nomination, Bill. Thank you. Thank you very much. I also want to recognize the service to our great city provided by former Chair Linda Huggins and Vice Chair Michael Sharp. And a special thank you to all of my fellow commissioners for the faith and trust that they have placed in me tonight. And I want to thank the Planning Department, City Council, and the City Manager, and I will do my best to live up to your expectations. That having been said, let us go on to PZ 22-19. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall discuss and take action to approve subdivision case number SUB 2219, Alena Trails preliminary plat, discussion and action. We are opening the public hearing on this matter at this time. Does staff have any comments?
Yes, hi. Derek Scheer with the Planning Department. Just want to say good evening, Chairman Yocum, Vice Chairman Robertson. Congratulations on your appointments.
Thank you.
I'm here to present the next item on the agenda, Subdivision 22-19, Alena Trails. The applicant for this case is Tom Durant from ABLA Studios. The location is at the southeast corner of Murphy and Farrell Roads, as you can see highlighted in yellow on the subject map. Project area is approximately 111.4 acres. The proposal is for a preliminary plat to develop the site with 456 single-family residential lots. The zoning for this site was previously approved under PAD 22-08, Murphy and Farrell. If you may remember from a few months ago, this was approved by the City Council on October 18th, 2022. This is the first portion of that PAD, the northern 1/3 of that site that we just saw for the 111 acres. So there's going to be 2 points of access for this development as it is right now. The 2 points are going to be accessing off of Murphy Road with an emergency only access that'll come from that south road between Tract J and Tract O across back over to Murphy Road. That emergency all-weather access road will be developed and planned for at the final plat stage. The connection to the north in the middle there to Farrell Road, that'll occur at a later date once development to the south of this in the remainder of the PAD comes online or gets submitted. Then that whole spine road will go north-south from Farrell Road all the way south. There's going to be 3 different size lots for the development. There'll be 96 lots that are 40 feet wide by 110 feet deep, 295 lots that are 45 feet wide by 115 feet, and 65 lots that will be 50 feet by 115 feet. The overall density for this portion of the PAD is going to be 4.09 dwelling units per acre, which is consistent with the PAD. Here we can see just a plot diagram of typical lot layouts that'll occur throughout the pre-plat and then the final plat. Preliminary open space for this portion will consist of approximately 28.41 acres or 25.5% of the site. This exceeds the 22% required by the PAD. The usable open space will be 10.28 acres or 36% of the open space in this plat here. Open space is going to include residential amenities, including the main amenity park, which I have on the screen right now. This will include a pavilion, covered patio area, playground equipment. There's also game courts. Throughout the rest of the development, there'll be outdoor activity areas. The retention basins have been activated as open space with walking trails, benches, exercise equipment. Also, on the periphery of the site, to the north and to the east, is a regional trail as part of the city's master plan for trail connectivity throughout the city. That will be developed as part of this, or part of that will be developed as part of this as well. Throughout the community, there'll be paved pedestrian walkways connecting all of these outdoor amenities and then also feeding over to Murphy and Farrell Road. and the trails that are to the north and the east. Here we can see the open space plan. North is to the left, Farrell Road is to the north. So you'll see that large green section on the left and on the top, that is the trail. All the green sections inside, those are the open space areas for the preliminary plat here. Where you see the little squares, those are where those open spaces have been activated with bench seating, fitness equipment, benches with game tables on them, checkers, chess kind of a thing built into the table. This case has been thoroughly vetted by all the departments in the city. It's gone out for an external technical advisory committee. It's had an internal development review meeting. Planning department has reviewed it for the zoning, landscape standards, design standards, everything compared to what was approved in the PAD, and it meets all those requirements. The fire department has looked at it, engineering for the width of the roads, development, and also the traffic impact analysis, and then also building. Staff has determined that the proposal is compliant with the city's development regulations for residential subdivisions and the PAD for the lot size, dimensions, and setbacks as set by the PAD, the wall boundaries, exterior and interior, pedestrian connectivity, residential design guidelines, conceptual landscaping, the preliminary drainage, which will be finalized at the final plat stage, the road design, and then again the preliminary traffic report. Staff recommends approval of subdivision SUB 22-19 Elena Trails, subject to the conditions of approval stated in the staff report, and the revision to general notes number 4 on the preliminary plat cover sheet, as referenced in the memo presented to the commission that I gave out earlier, or as states right here, the homeowners association will be responsible for maintenance and any and all costs of all landscaping, street lighting within the arterial, collector, and local right-of-ways and open spaces, parks, and/or tracks. And I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have, and there's also a representative for the applicant and developer that would be happy to answer questions as well.
Thank you. How about if we
Do the public hearing, or is anybody?
public hearing was opened at the beginning. We can do the public hearing if we want now. We do have one speaker.
Mr. Chair, there is no public hearing for the preliminary plat.
Pardon?
There is no public hearing.
There's not. Okay.
Well, I guess my question was, there were 2 speaker cards.
I believe those speaker cards are for item 5.3.
Oh, okay, no problem.
I have one here, unless I'm... for Arden Trails, 22-19.
Arden?
That's this one. That's what I was asking.
I have a speaker card here for Arden Trails, Scott Cole.
That is item 5.4. So there's one for 5.3 and one for 5.4. We're discussing 5.2, which is Elena Trails, not Arden.
Let me see if we'll move along. Would the applicant like to make any comments? Not?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
I have a question too.
Okay, well, if we move to approve, if we don't, do I have a second for that motion?
Yeah, I'll second, because we're going to open it for
Okay,
discussion.
now we're open for discussion.
My question, Derek, is there's estimated 28.4 acres of open space, but of that, only 5.3 are usable open space. What makes up the remainder of what's being classified and accounted for as open space?
The usable open space is 10.28 acres of the total 28.41 open space acres. The other open space is dedicated retention areas and other open space areas that aren't what we call activated. They don't have an amenity associated with it. It's just open landscape space.
Okay, so with the 5.3 of total use comes out to 18% of the total gross acres, is that correct?
5.3, it's 10.28.
Okay.
I think, no, that's not the agenda item.
Under the development plan, second paragraph, the last two sentences. I am the wrong one.
In the narrative?
This is, okay. Preliminary narrative for Murphy and Farrell by the EPS group, right?
Yes.
Okay. In the EPS group's package on their letterhead, it
Yes, that
says-
is a typo on their part. My apologies there. Yeah, it is 10, not 5.
It's 10.
10.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And
Thank
that is
you.
what is on the plat right here that I'm looking at. And we went back and forth with this quite a bit with them.
Okay. Just
On
wanted to clarify that.
establishing that much open space.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, could you go back and put up that map with the roads on it, the Murphy and, yeah, that one. I guess I'm trying to get a clear picture of the anticipated roads, because again, when you look at that area, my concern is west on Farrell is the high school, right?
Right across the street, across Murphy Road, is the high school.
And that high school is going to enlarge to 2,000 to 3,000 students. I'm not getting a good picture about, it says the engineering division has reviewed the traffic impact and found it acceptable in all operations. I guess I'm not picturing how that's going to be tied in with the expansion of the high school and how that's going to be tied into this and the facts of why that comment was made. Can you show me a little bit about, you talked over here about the development of new access roads off of Millen Parkway and Angelo Drive. I guess I'm just trying to get a picture of that site, which is right across from the high school, and how that'll all flow with especially with the traffic problems we have now with our schools. I just explain how you.
Absolutely. So this is right across from the school. Here we have the overall subject map that you can zoomed out. You can see a little bit better. To the left of the highlighted square, which is the site that where the trees are, that's where the high school is now.
Right.
This site, this southern drive that we'll see right there on the bottom left, that one will line up with the driveway for the high school. The one to the north, that one is closer. The plan is to signalize that Farrell Road intersection there. I believe there's, in the future, to signalize the access out of the high school and onto the southern road right there. I don't have the city engineer here with me, who would be able to definitively tell you if that was the absolute plan. And then the third access out of here for now is going to be an emergency all-weather access going to the south and punching out onto Murphy Road south of the site. And this will give 3 accesses for this for now. As this whole PAD area develops, then there'll be the Farrell Road and Steen Road access.
Do you have any anticipated date? I was just out there the other day going to the high school about Farrell Road, because that's going to be a key to all this, and Farrell Road's been that way.
We do not know. We have pressed the applicant, and the applicant is only in control of this area. The rest of that southern area is still being farmed, and they'll be up to the landowner when they want to activate
I guess I don't see
development.
this working without Farrell Road being open.
We went through that quite a bit with the applicant through this process for almost a year now to get to this point of the preliminary plat with this access, because there were sort of, as you are noting, legitimate access issues.
Right.
But what we've looked at here and with the city engineer, that this layout is a doable layout and it meets all of the requirements by city code, and then also under the traffic impact analysis that it will work.
If Farrell Road's ready.
No, that right now, without the connection
Without
punch
Farrell
out to
Road?
Farrell Road, yes. And as the PAD overall develops and that density increases and everything, that's where the trigger for Farrell Road connection and Steen connection to be able to give even more outlets for all what'll be this development.
I don't see it, but I won't go any further. I just don't want us to walk into another rabbit hole, which this sounds like you're going to do, but whatever.
I'd like to move on to Commissioner LaFalle. Commissioner Hughes?
Just a follow-up question on this exhibit, that the blue line's coming from the west into the corner there. Is that another road, not the school access road? Just trying to clarify what I'm seeing.
You mean on the trees right there, all the blue lines in there? That is another subdivision that's been platted. That's there.
Yeah, so that looks like there's a
Oh, that's a parcel line. A parcel line.
parcel lines.
I wish I could highlight it there, but basically that blue line at the bottom that connects to the bottom yellow line, that's a parcel line for across the street there.
So it's not another roadway coming in from the west?
In this image, only the parcel lines are highlighted in blue. The roads, you can see in that light color, and then you have the text above them, but they're not highlighted themselves.
Okay, that's good. I was just concerned there was a bunch of roads all stacked up really tight there, so, okay, thank you.
Commissioner Robertson, do you have any additional comments?
No, sir.
I have three things. Ingress, egress always concerns me, and this is going to be built in phases, and each phase has parcels. And I know that initially it's assumed that the first phase that is built will have adequate ingress and egress, but as we continue with the phases and the parcels, I want to make sure that we continue to have at least two ways in and out, okay? I think adherence to the transportation stipulation discussion in the staff report must be monitored very closely. And finally, I think we have to follow the drainage report. Is there any other discussion? Someone like to make a motion?
Motion's already on the table.
Pardon?
Motion's already been made.
It's passed already.
Oh, it did?
No.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hughes made a motion. There was a second by Commissioner Irving.
Don't worry about it. You're doing good.
Well, okay, all in favor of passing 22-19?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next is SUB 22-40, a request by David Bone of the BFH Group requesting approval of the Villas at Stonegate subdivision preliminary plat to accommodate 293 owner-occupied townhomes on approximately 16.1 acres. The property is generally located at the southeast corner of Stonegate Road and Allen Stevens Parkway. And I think what I will do is open the public hearing now. And
Chair Yocum, there is no public hearing. This is a preliminary plat, much like the last one.
Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chair Yocum. My name is Byron Easton. I'm Senior Planner here at the City of Maricopa. I'm here to present the Villas at Stonegate Preliminary Plat Subdivision Case 22-40. The applicant is David Bond of BFH Group. The location is southeast corner of Stonegate Road and Allen Stevens Parkway. So this is approximately 16 acres. The subdivision is just creating the lots for the previously approved DRP that we approved earlier in the year. We saw it twice later in 2022 to accommodate for 293 owner-occupied townhomes. DRP 2202 was the name of the DRP that we approved in late 2022. So the Villas at Stonegate pre-plat, we've looked at this site many times. It has 2 points of main access, both of which are off of Stonegate Road. In addition, there's an emergency access point. Let's see if I can do this. Whoops, that was not good. Try that again, sorry. Okay, so up here in the northeast corner, I want to make it clear that that is emergency access only up there, so there will not be residents of the community filtering out onto Allen Stevens Parkway. They will be using the 2 main points of access off of Stonegate Road, which will then connect to the south. And also, we'll have another access point for the future commercial development to the south as well. So four total points of access. Previously stated, this is an owner-occupied multifamily development. There will be 2 different size lots for the townhome units. 153 of the lots will be 44 by 21, and 140 of them will be 36 by 24. For a total density of 18.2 dwelling units per acre, which is a little bit under the max 20 dwelling units per acre permitted by the RH zoning district. Just a quick lot detail, nothing fancy, very standard lots. These are condo lots, so they're basically 0 setback lots. The buildings will be to the property line, attached product. However, all of the buildings on the site will meet the overall setback requirements, and the lots will meet the overall setback requirements for the site as a whole. As we look at the preliminary open space plan, you can see that they are providing in excess of the 20% required open space. 27.7%. The open space plan includes some tot lots, some playground equipment, pool, amenity area, a dog run. We worked really hard with the applicant because of the design, the basic design of the subdivision, that the pathways are all wide, paved, well lit throughout the community, so that they would have connection to the amenities and then also to the exterior of the site. There's also some pedestrian gates that were added here along the southwest, and then also directly south there's a pedestrian gate that will connect to that future commercial area to the south. So then there's also pedestrian access on the northeast, and then also on the west of the site. So lots of pedestrian access, lots of internal walkways. Just a quick reminder that this preliminary plat application was distributed to all of our main development services and engineering departments for review, and that says the wrong case. So while staff was reviewing this, engineering reviewed it, fire reviewed it, the building department reviewed it, we all determined that the lots as platted are in compliance with our development regulations for residential subdivisions. The things that we analyze are the lot size, the dimensions and setbacks per the zoning, and then the walled boundary design, the pedestrian connectivity, residential design guidelines. We reviewed those pretty thoroughly, as you recall, during the DRP stage of this application. The conceptual landscaping, the preliminary drainage, the road design, and the preliminary traffic report. I know engineering is going thoroughly through the traffic report, and they're going to be requiring some more steps moving toward the final plat. So just keep that in mind. As Derek stated before, we are amending this slightly with the memo that I handed out to you to add that note to the final plat, or sorry, the preliminary plat cover page. So with that said, we would like to recommend approval of sub 22-40 Villas at Stonegate, subject to the conditions stated in the staff report, including that added condition of approval stated below. I won't read that again, but it's identical, just giving responsibility to the homeowners and property owner association, property management company to be responsible for maintenance.
Before we go any further, I have a question for Nick. I do have an agenda speaker card. Is this the time to bring it up?
Yeah, I believe you do have one card for this item. And so then since that individual had the opportunity to speak during the call to the public, she can speak during this specific agenda item.
Tina Dugan. Tina, would you give us your address, please?
Good evening, Commissioners, Chair, and Vice Chair. Congratulations. My name is Tina Dugan. I live at 42097 West Arvada Court in the subdivision of Glenwild, directly north of this property. My concern is, as I was reading over the information for this, it states that they will be required to put a center left turn lane to the west of Stonegate on Allen Stevens Parkway. My concern is that nowhere in that was it mentioned if they will be required to continue with the bike lanes which are already in place. My concern is, as you are well aware, we have 6 schools in the area of these townhomes, and the majority of students, especially going to Legacy and to Central Arizona College and also to Saddleback, many of them ride their bicycles along Allen Stevens Parkway and utilize those bike lanes every morning and afternoon as they're leaving school. I would not be in favor of a bike lane such as what we see near the high school, where basically the entire car travel lane has been turned into a bike lane. So in other words, they share with the cars, especially in the residential neighborhood, which to the west of this, the majority of that is. And that would be my concern with this, is that it's not enumerated anywhere in the documentation I read as to whether bike lanes will still be required. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Okay. Commissioner comments? Let's start with Jim Hughes.
I have no comments, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner LaFalle?
I just have a question on the access for the emergency entrance only. Excuse me. There's a development currently where there's an emergency access only road and drivers are using that for general entry and exit. Will there be any type of mitigation to ensure that that doesn't happen, because it creates dangerous traffic conditions?
Commissioner LaFalle, Chair Yocum, this will be a gated emergency access area.
Thank you.
Commissioner Frank?
I have no comments.
Commissioner Robertson?
Yes, Derek, could you maybe elaborate and help answer the question that Ms. Dugan brought about the bike paths? Bike paths going to be maintained or going to stay, or what's the situation there? The bike lane, I mean.
Commissioner Robertson, all improvements required along Allen Stevens will be consistent with whatever is to the adjacent roadway. So all improvements, curb, gutter, sidewalk, bike lanes, striping, whatever needs to happen will stay consistent throughout. And I made a note to that. We can add some language to the final memo of approval that points out that it's not just the bike lanes, but it's all, all improvements.
Thank you.
Commissioner Irving?
No, that was my only question, too.
Okay. No further question. I'd like to have a motion entertained if
Chairman, I move to approve.
we have an approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Motion has been made. We have a second. Any further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to the next agenda item, which is 5.4, PAD 2215, the public hearing. So we'll open the public hearing now. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall discuss and take action on a request for a zoning map amendment, effectively rezoning approximately 300 acres of land from Hartman Ranch Planned Area Development, which is PAD, to Arden Trails, PAD, for the development of a single-family residential subdivision. The property is generally located at the southwest corner of Steen Road and Anderson Road alignment. Discussion and action.
Thanks, Commissioner Yocum. Arden Trails is a planned area development, PAD 22-15. The applicant is Terra West Communities on behalf of JEN Arizona 63 LLC. This is in the very southeast corner of the city, southwest corner of Steen Road and Anderson Road alignment. This is approximately 308 acres. So this already has zoning on the site. This was zoned Hartman Ranch PAD, and that was back in 2006 that was zoned Hartman Ranch PAD. So it has zoning on the site already. What the applicant would like to do is remove the planning area from the existing Hartman Ranch PAD and create a new standalone planned area development, which accomplishes many things. Most importantly, brings all of the development standards up to speed with what our current underlying zoning standards are. And I'll talk a little bit more about that moving forward. But this is for basically a single-family master planned community. So the PAD 22-15 is to amend the 308 acres, which is outlined in the red dotted line. So as I said before, the existing PAD is based on the CR3, which is our old county leftover zoning designation. And so what they want to do is basically have an underlying zoning of RS5, which is from our current city code, which is a medium density zoning district. And then also in addition, as you can see to the map, the kind of southern area, southeast area would have a dual RS5 RM zoning for just that one parcel 10. And this is to add some more flexibility for a more diverse housing product. More specifically, they were thinking some sort of attached product, maybe a cluster homes or something of that nature. So the RM zoning would give it a little bit more flexibility, so if they choose to go down that route. If they didn't do clustered housing or attached housing, it would default to the RS5, and that's detailed in the staff report. So this is a new standalone PAD, new land use plan development standards, and as I said before, it's adding a new housing type option besides the traditional detached product. So with the existing zoning on the property, the existing general plan is also supportive. It's mainly master plan community, and you have a little bit of different colors of the mixed use down there. So that would actually be also supportive of that different housing product. So let's just take a quick look at the land use plan. This is the illustrative master plan. This shows us, it's a little hard to read at first until you realize that north is actually to the right. So we're looking north is to the right, Steen Road, which is on the north side of the property. Peters and Knoll Road is on the south side of the property. So 1,318 dwelling units, 1,318 dwelling units planned for the 12 development parcels. So the gross density would be 4.27 for the entire site, which is under that medium density residential, which would fit the RS5 zoning. Parcels 1 through 9 The colorful ones will utilize the RS5 with the underlying development standards with some limited modifications to accommodate some possible single unit detached and attached housing, generally on lots of at least 5,000 square feet. So what that means is if they are going to have the attached housing, then the lots would be 5,000 square feet, I believe. Is that correct? Okay, so yeah, that was a little confusing the way that was written. So let me change that. So on parcel 10 only is where as I said before, where the attached product would be. And if that happened on parcel 10, it would be at least 5,000 square feet. So up to 25% of the lots within the parcels 1, 9, and 11 and 12 of Arden Trails may be less than 5,000 square feet, but no lots shall be less than 4,400 square feet. So the minimum lot size is 4,400 square feet, but as a whole, the whole site cannot exceed has to be at least the 4.27 dwelling units per acre. So that's the minimum density allowed for the entire site. Parcel 10 also, like I said, includes the dual zoning categories of RS5 and RM. Additionally, parcel 12, as we can see in the upper left, is reserved for an elementary school site at this time. So as we look to the open space plan, we see a network of walking trails. Along the walking trails are exercise stations, centralized parks, and localized neighborhood parkettes. The developer also made some accommodations to make the trail system that we have in our Parks and Rec open space plan a reality by providing connections from both directions. And as I can show you here, that trail is actually going to come from the east and connect through the middle of the community. So our public trail system will actually run through the Spine Road, which is in red. So it's going to come from the east, it's going to connect, and will connect all the way up to Steen Road, where it will then head west and connect to the other planned section of the trail. That is a 10-foot trail, two-surface trail, as we have in our Parks and Rec open space plan. The applicant also agreed, per staff's request, to create another connection moving east along Steen Road that will connect to the green internalized sidewalk area. So that will in turn create a loop type of situation where you can walk and you don't have to stop and turn around. You can just walk on a loop. So we were very pleased with that. The project will feature 6-foot neighborhood detached sidewalks throughout that tie to the community trail and link the homes. Also, we feel the applicant did a good job of connected design and theme, as you can see in their project PAD booklet. They did hit the 9 PAD design element points, so that just ensures that there's extra thought and care that go into the design of the community and the architecture, making sure there's an integrated theme throughout the community. So the public outreach points were met. They had their neighborhood meeting, they had the sign posted, they sent out their public hearing notification letters in time, and also their newspaper legal notice was published, all within the time frame. As we analyze this PAD to make sure that it meets the general goals and objectives of our general plan, we found that those 4 objectives were met by the applicant. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the Arden Trails planned area development, case number PAD 22-15, subject to the conditions of approval stated in the staff report and or is amended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you, and I'll take questions at this time, or we have a speaker.
Okay, well, our public hearing is now open, and I do have a speaker card, but anyone else wishing to speak regarding this item can approach the podium and then state their name and address. Scott Cole.
Commissioners, I'm Scott Cole. I own the 200 acres contiguous to and immediately east of Arden Trails, which is part of the existing Hartman Ranch PAD. I've recently submitted a pre-application with the city for this 200 acres, so hopefully you'll be seeing that as things progress here in the few months. I'm very supportive of Arden Trails, but there's there's 3 items that are of concern, being that Arden Trails is essentially splitting the section in half, splitting the existing PAD in half. That PAD, the existing PAD covered almost the entire section. And my objective is to try to make sure that in separating the existing PAD in halves, that the traffic circulation plan in the existing PAD is respected and that it works for the entire section, not just Arden. To accomplish that, I'd like to see 3 stipulations added to the approval, or other means of clarifying these points. The first is that the half street at the northeast corner of Arden Trails, that's at the Anderson alignment, stipulating that that's built in phase 1. I believe the applicant has told me that's already in there, but it wasn't clear to me, so I'm bringing it up, and hopefully staff can clarify that. The second is that the Arden Trails, the narrative of their application contemplates the abandonment of a county section line easement at the Anderson alignment. And portions of that are critical to accessing my property and the other half of the section that's in the existing Hartman Ranch PAD, but not in the, obviously, the Arden Trails PAD. So what I would be asking is that there's a clarification or stipulation that the abandonment of that county section line easement does not take place until the connections to the remainder of the existing Hartman Ranch PAD is finalized. Abandoning the easement in kind of the center of the section is fine with me. The problems are where the loop road on the east half of the section intersects the Anderson alignment, and those county easements are necessary to make that connection and to maintain the existing circulation that's in the existing Hartman Ranch PAD. The next would be, I'd like to see that the proposed connections, which are shown on my pre-app, but it's basically at the north end of the Arden Trails project at the Anderson alignment. My loop road just connects there and goes up to Steen. And at the south end of both projects, the loop road on the east half of the section loops back into the Anderson Road alignment. So the issues are the two connections at the north and the south of the section along the Anderson Road alignment and the existing county easement that's there that shouldn't disappear until we have that worked out. Then a separate item is, since I was speaking, I've been requested by Mrs. Hartman and the Hartman family that they would very much like to see the history and the legacy of the Hartman family be maintained as it was in the original Hartman Ranch PAD, the name Hartman Ranch. And if the applicant could modify the name of their project to include the Hartman family name, I know it would be very, very much appreciated by the Hartman family. So that's kind of separate from those other three circulation issues, but they'd very much like to see that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I'd like to hear from the commissioners. Let's start with Commissioner Frank.
Yeah, those are all some very good points brought up by the gentleman. I appreciate those. Those are things that we were not necessarily aware of in our packets. And I think that the city should consider many of those suggestions as well, as much as possible, to make a cohesive development for this area. That'd be the only comment I would have.
Chairman Yocum, if I may, members of the commission, I just would like to point out a couple of, and just address some of the comments. First thing, with respect to cross-access, we all agree on that. In fact, I believe stipulation number 6 somewhat addresses that. Additionally, we have a pre-application with your development. I believe it's either this coming Wednesday, 2 days from now, or it might possibly be next Wednesday. But we will go through and we will address those items as just as he's laid them out there. With respect to abandoning the easement, we're all in agreement that it does make sense. And then finally, with respect to the applicant, I was just speaking with Shannon a couple of minutes ago. She's sitting over here in the audience this evening, and they have been collaborating together, so everybody's on the same page with respect to the comments the gentleman just entered into the record. So, you know, I feel fairly confident that between the three different entities working, the two applicants in the city, we can address those concerns, and for, you know, it appears that we're all on the same page.
Very good.
Thank you.
Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you, Rick, for your comments. Thank you, sir, for bringing that to our attention. We don't get to see the pre-application, so it's new information, and it makes sense for the city to continue to work with both applicants. That's what public hearings are for. You brought forth some information, enlightened us, and now we hear that the city's already moving forward with working with both applicants to make sure that these stipulations or changes hopefully could be affected. So thank you for bringing that forward, and thank you for clarification, Rick.
Commissioner Irving.
Yeah, a couple of issues. One, I guess I'm really sensitive to the last comment about the Hartman name. Being a member of the Historical Society here, I think one of the things we're really stressing is to keep with a lot of families, you know, the Hartmans, the Farrells, and like that, those names involved. That's what. So I would very much glad to hear that you're going to work with the Hartman family to do that. The other question, I guess it's just a comment over on page 2. In partial 12, you're reserving it for an elementary school. I was just curious. That's one of those strange situations where it's in our planning area, but it's not in our school district. So I think I guess I would just, if you talk all to Casa Grande Elementary to see where they are, because of course they don't control schools, the facility board does, about where they are even to apply for another school, as opposed to those kids coming into the Maricopa. I was just curious how that would work out, yeah.
So when the original Hartman Ranch PAD was done, there was a school donation agreement already recorded.
Okay.
So it already exists. We did approach them and we offered to change that agreement to a rooftop donation if they did not want the facility on the site. And at one point we thought that that would happen, but then they came back and said, no, we actually do want to reserve the facility. So they don't have to take down the facility until we do our third phase, because this area is our third phase. So in the event they change their mind again, that's why we have the underlying RS5 zoning on the property. I noticed that just got really loud. So it can revert back to residential, and we could work out a new rooftop donation with the school district at a later date if they change their mind.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious about because, you know, our schools, you know, I wish, we're trying to get it in our district, to be quite honest, which means that would allow us to apply for another elementary school. I was just curious. Yeah, that was all.
Yeah, the agreement existed already, so we're just honoring that agreement.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Commissioner LaFalle?
My question is, if we are to, motion is passed tonight, and you are working with the pre-application, where is the assurance that it would still, all the negotiations or conversations behind the scene will be in alignment if we approve it tonight?
Good question. Thank you, Commissioner LaFalle, Chair Yocum. So this is the zoning portion of the process. So there will be a pre-plat, and there's going to be a final plat. So there's going to be lots of times for those negotiations to happen before it actually gets recorded.
Commissioner Hughes?
Thank you. Just amazed at the amount of development that's happening in our community. It is amazing to me. Interest in building new homes and commercial development. I think it's a fantastic part of our growth, and we need this housing for our growth. And along with road improvements, and I'm hopeful that down the road we'll be seeing more road improvements, and I think we will. I know the mayor, she's working hard on it. So, but with that, I move to approve.
Mr. Chair, if I might, before we move forward with the motion, we did open the public hearing. If there's no other discussion, can you please close the public hearing? And if there's more discussion.
Do we have anyone who would like to take part in the public hearing? Yes, please state your name and your address, please.
Nicole Gibson, 33850 West Steen Road.
Thank you.
It might not be the time or the place for it. We tried to attend the meeting at the library in December, I guess to speak to the developers. And when we showed up, nobody was there. So kind of taking this opportunity to ask some questions, express some concerns. I live on the corner of Steen, directly across from where all this is supposed to be being built. We live down a dirt road. And my question is, because the way that we have it now, it's a public easement, it's a dirt road, but it's maintained by us, but it's technically our property. And my question or my concern is, we have utilities and things set up along that easement that we have. What happens with the building there, like with our road? Does our road turn into a paved road that's our property? Is a paved road put in beside of our dirt road? What happens to the utilities that are along that? And just questions like, we're on a well, would water providers change because the utilities are along that? Concerns like that. And the little packets we got didn't have a ton of information. So.
Chairman, if I may, ma'am, typically development pays as it goes. So they'll be required to dedicate and construct the half-street improvements associated with their property. Now, if there are easements or utilities that are located on your side of the road, it should not affect those whatsoever in the event they don't have the ability to go in and improve or remove utilities that aren't on their side of the road. It's not their property. They don't have the ability. Once they construct those, then they will dedicate those to the city of Maricopa, and Maricopa will take over the maintenance and uptake of those. It shouldn't affect your property at all.
Okay. I think that was it. Main concerns.
Thank you.
And just, I'll be happy to share more information if you have additional questions. After the meeting, I'll be more than happy to spend a few minutes with you and answer them all.
Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Anyone else like to? No? We have nothing further. We'll close the public meeting, and we have a motion has been made. Right? Have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Along. Item 5.5, PZ 23-01, Planning Commission update. David McLeish, Special Project Manager, will provide an update regarding a city-initiated rezoning request for portions of land in a general area along North John Wayne Parkway and West Honeycutt Avenue. Discussion only.
Excuse me. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is David McLeish. Just wanted to give you an update on a city-sponsored rezoning.
Just click it and it'll advance on the little hint on the mouse. There you go.
So within the black line is the area in question. As you see, as the current zoning stands, there's existing Pinal County zoning, including some general rural. There's also industrial, as well as business zoning. And staff has deemed it necessary to rezone this to update the zoning from the existing zoning. So as this is in the beginning stages, our current goal is to simply update it from the existing Pinal County zoning district to current compatible Maricopa zoning. But with this, we want to give property owners to also have the opportunity to upzone as it makes sense in the area. So some of the zonings we're looking at moving forward will be general commercial, potentially mixed use, and even shopping center. As to date, all we've done is send letters to each of the property owners in this area to see if they want to participate in the rezoning. For the ones that are going to be responding, we'll reach out and meet with them individually to see what specific zoning makes sense for each property owner. Once we get feedback from the property owners initially, we'll go ahead and formally put this to neighborhood meetings. We'll send out the required notification letters to surrounding property owners outside of the area, and we'll bring it back for you to action at a later date. But that's where we currently stand, and just want to open it up for any questions that you may have.
Okay, let's start with Commissioner Hughes.
No, I don't have any comments. That I think commercial development is a necessity in our community, and that it'd be a great rezoning, and it has my total approval.
Commissioner LaFawn?
So for the residents who, this is for also the residential areas in that?
Right now, there's really no residential in this area. It's really all.
Just the, okay, no questions.
And ultimately, it'll be just the property owners who want to participate. We can't rezone without them reaching out. So.
Okay. Commissioner Irving?
No comments.
Commissioner Richardson?
Robertson.
Robertson, sorry. I'm getting bleary-eyed here.
He used to be called the governor of New Mexico. His name was Bill Richardson. No comments.
Nothing for me.
Okay. I just have, I think, right now, we're kind of operating under the Pinell County zoning code, aren't we?
Yep.
And so what we want to do is convert that into the city's zoning code, and I think that's just absolutely essential. I can't see that we would want to go in any other direction, because it would give us much more flexibility, and I think the entire concept is going to spark economic development and growth. Also, I took a look at what we already have in there. We have the lofts at Edison in this particular area. We have apartments at Honeycutt, Hampton Edison Apartments. The city purchased 4.1 acres south of the overpass in the Heritage District, and it just goes on. I think the possibilities are I think they're very interesting and exciting. There's no action.
Commissioner,
So we're going to take action.
Commissioner Yocum, prior to making a motion there, if I just might add to it, David, thank you very much for coming out tonight and providing this preview of things to come. I would also note that this is kind of the first one coming down, through a direction of leadership, also working with the general plan update for 2024. We're going to see more of these coming through, where we have these dueling ordinances, so to speak. We've got the old county hanging out. We've also got, our own city. So we're working diligently to bring everybody up to the same code, so we're all playing on the same field. So this is the first one of those coming through, and you're going to see more of those. This is a nice preview of what's to come. So, more of this in the future.
Next item on the agenda, reports from commission and or staff.
All right. Chairman Yocum, or is it Chairman-elect Yocum? Mr. Chairman.
I just want you to know that this apple will continue to be polished, but right now there's a few soft spots.
Just a preview again of things to come. So our next meeting is going to be held on the 23rd of this month. We don't have any agenda items for you, but we've got a couple of updates coming your way. The city is currently working with Maricopa County and Maricopa International as a consultant on a regional transportation plan. I'm happy to say that Kevin Kugler from Michael Baker is going to be here on the 23rd to really give a nice detailed update on the transportation plan, how it affects us, the regional aspects of it, and also the progress that we're into. Secondly, we've been talking about text amendments and making changes to our ordinance. We've been working on it now since really August, September. We've got those put together. We're going to roll out the first wave of those, and we're going to have a study session on that on the 23rd as well. So no items on the agenda, action items on the agenda, but some really good informational stuff. And then finally, just wanted to make you a little bit aware, Rudy may be reaching out to y'all, our director. We've got some opportunities for some continued learning and some seminars to go to. So don't be surprised if Rudy reaches out and asks you if you're interested in attending certain events. So with that, that concludes my presentation, sir, and what a good night. Thank you very much.
Sir?
Rick, will we be able to, there was discussion about us being able to meet with staff. We had a meeting last year, it was like a workshop. Will we be having another one of those?
Commissioner, Chairman Yocum, are you referring, can you clarify that for me, Rachel?
And staff. The commission and staff, we met at the library, the new library.
I'm not familiar with that. Was it like a seminar?
Like a working session between.
Yeah, we did that quite a while ago. Yeah, my question is sort of a combination of that. Could you give us an update of the recommendations made by City Council, which would include what you're talking about? Can you give us any? Because I thought those were some great recommendations. I was just curious if you can give us an update about.
Chairman Yocum, Commissioner Irving, that is still being vetted through the process.
Just curious.
Yeah, there has been no direction handed down to me at this point. So it's continuing, the discussion is continuing. As soon as we come to a conclusion on that, we'll be the first to bring that to you.
That would include Commissioner's issue about meeting, because I thought that was one of them. Just where you were with it.
I assume we're talking about not only a meeting between this commission and staff, but also this commission and city council. That's something we've been trying to do for about 15 months, and we have yet to do it.
Right. No, duly noted, and again, it's well aware of that request and the desire to do so, and we'll continue moving forward trying to make that happen.
Okay,
Very
well,
good.
if there's nothing further,
Move we adjourn.
I'm going to consider the meeting adjourned.
Thank you.